Ready?
Ready.
Hey, check this out, man. We're going to do some Gorski stuff again today. We're on the second day of Bob's 3-page Gorski sheet that we're doing here with John. All of our phones are off? Okay, good. We are. So, where we left off was on, we had finished question 8, which was the common elements of all the relapses of the past 10 years. Hang around the same type of people, tweakers, trap house, hotel room, you're feeling dysphoric, not feeling good, coming down, slept it off. Took 30 days off to reset my tolerance. Felt like I had this, now I can use socially, and then did it again. So when we look at in beginning the second day of doing the 3-page Gorski sheet, we want to review the common elements, which is question number 8. We want to make sure that the client is happy with the book title, movie title, which is the name, number 9, put a name to the high-risk situation. Lone Wolf, that's the name?
That's the name.
That's the name. And then we review the people, places, things, attitude, internal dialogue, relationship status. Did I just get into a relationship, now I'm using? Did I just break up with somebody, now I'm using? Am I comfortable in the middle of a relationship and now I'm bored and I'm using? Right? Did mom yell at me? Did dad yell at me? Did my kid act up? Did my teacher's kid act up? Or my kid's teacher act up? Right? So all those kind of financial status. I have a lot of money and I go use. Or I'm really poor and then I whore myself out and I go use. And then things are going well, I have some money saved up. So now that I've saved up money, instead of taking a vacation, I'm going to get some pot, because that's the same as vacation. You know, those kind of things. Time of day. Do you drink in the morning? Do you drink at noon? Do you drink after work? Do you drink after dinner? Do you drink at dinner? Do you drink before you go to bed? When do you smoke it? Sometimes time of day is a big trigger. Sometimes it's not a trigger at all. For me, with Coke, I used it whenever. I didn't care what time of the day it was. If somebody had some Coke at 8 o'clock in the morning, I could do that. If it's noon, I don't care, any day. But pot was almost always, in the last few relapses for me, was almost always after work, I'm stressed out, I can't relax. Right? So you want to think about those time of day or date. I drank and smoked more on Sunday night and Mondays. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I used less often on Tuesday, Wednesday. Season. I drank more in the summer and in the winter. In the spring and the fall, I don't know why. Maybe I was getting some action or something. It was, I had other ways to distract myself. But I used more in different seasons. Mood, internal dialogue, what you're saying to yourself, what your attitude is. We review all those things. So have you thought of anything else besides, and again, I'm on his 3-page sheet, I'm typing in John's answers here. Did we change your name? Yeah, John Blaze. Yeah. So John Blaze, anything to add to that same type of people? It was the tweakers, always the trap house. Any other people to add?
No.
That if I'm around that person, is there any names? And sometimes I'll just use first names. For me, it was Sean and Tom. If I was around Tom, I was going to drink and smoke pot. If I'm around Sean, I'm going to smoke pot. Did you have people like that if you're around, you were going to use?
Matt, Josh.
Terry. And women in general. If I'm around a woman, then I need to use to feel adequate. I need to use to get rid of my self-consciousness so I'm paying attention to them. I need to use...
Stamina.
Stamina. Okay. Stamina. All right, and I'm highlighting stamina because I know we're going to use that later today to talk about positive intentions. Just for stamina then? So if you had plenty of stamina on your own, you could keep it going all night long. You wouldn't need the bath.
Right.
Okay?
Well, and it was control power. I
Okay.
had something they wanted.
Yep. I got some meth. there's some women, it's going to be easier for me to take advantage of them, right?
Right.
Because I'm insecure and I'm inadequate. Why would they want to sleep with me if I didn't have some meth to give them?
Right.
Inadequacy, right? Okay. Anything else? Any other thoughts there? Places. It was always at the trap house, the hotel room.
So,
Okay. All right. Was it any particular one? And I'll give you an example. When I first moved here to Omaha in '97, I had to avoid 49th and Dodge for a couple of years. Anybody remember the 49er bar? My friend Tom lived on half a block away on 49th and Capitol, and the bar would close at 1 or 2. We'd go over to Tom's, smoke some weed on his front porch, and then we'd go back and knock on the door at 2:30, and the owner, I can't remember his name, who's in recovery now, by the way, and his buddies, if the owner wasn't there, it was the other manager, we'd go in and snort coke off the bar and whatever. It was a huge trigger. This whole area of town was a huge trigger for me. I had to wait for a long time until they cleaned sober before I could even come into this area. My heart would literally beat fast as I'm driving down Dodge Street coming in this direction. And then once I pass it, it would go back to normal. Any places that triggered you like that?
36 and L.
36th and L. You want to ask the clients about that. Is there a certain place? 36th and L. Any other place?
156 and center.
156th and Center. For me, when I was around 132nd and Center, there was this old restaurant called the Drawbridge. We called it the Drug Bridge. Everybody there, you can get anything you want from the guys working there. Right. Had to avoid that corner for a while. Nasty Trailer Parks in Council Bluffs. Didn't go there.
No.
Okay.
Gone there, but wasn't staying there.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Any other places? Things? When I'm in my really cool car, I gotta smoke some weed. When I am done with the softball game, I gotta go drink with the softball team. Things. When I'm sitting on my couch at home in front of my TV, or I don't know. I'm not sure how to apply this to apps and games on phones and stuff like that. I didn't really have that much. Anything like that a trigger for you?
John Madden football.
Was that a trigger for you? Was that like highly associated?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. John Madden football. So there's an association. When you think of John Madden football, your mind kind of goes back to that mood that you were in. Oh, I was high as shit playing John Madden football. A little bit of a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Common elements. So we review the common elements. We name the high-risk situation, lone wolf. It's still lone wolf. Okay. Number 10, how important is it for you to handle this high-risk situation, lone wolf, without using meth? How important? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is, oh, I don't care, I can live if I do some more. 10 is like, my life will probably end if I use again.
See, this is where I get confused. So, obviously, at this point in my life, those elements are not going to be active. Most of them. Some of them
Okay.
are, like John Madden football is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But meth house, no. Trap house, no.
Remember the title of the high-risk situation is lone wolf. Are there times today still in your life in the last year when you've been alone? You've been lonely. You know, relationships up and down. I come home from work and the kid's already in bed, right? That's the high-risk situation today and in the future for you. We look at those common elements so we see what our vulnerabilities are. And then we look at today and the future because that's all we have to be concerned about. So, when are you a lone wolf today? When are you alone? Right? Late at night? After the kid's in bed?
After the kids are in bed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Um,
And we're not saying that you're, oh my God, you're risky using. when
Right.
the kids are in bed. We're saying, I'm just a little bit more vulnerable at this moment than during the day when I'm counseling a bunch of other people.
And
10. Why is it that important? Why not a 9 or an 8?
because I don't ever want to use again.
Sec. I just want to make sure that's still. So it's a 10.
Yeah.
Why not a 9 or an 8?
Because I know that sobriety will allow me to do more things, better things, stay out of trouble. If I go back to that life, I am screwed.
And I like to write down the exact words like, if I go back to that life, I am screwed. Write them down word for word. Don't filter it through your own brain and change it into words that are more therapeutic or whatever. Because those are the words that you can quote back to the client at some other point in time and say, oh, if you go back to that life, you're screwed. The word screwed is the word that you used. I might use fucked up. I might use totally fucked. I might use, buggered. I might use, everybody has their unique words, but for you, if I go back to that life, I am screwed. Okay. And so we say that to also get an idea, is this person still invested in doing this Gorski thing? Are they still invested in doing this relapse prevention? Are they just fucking around? I rarely get anything less than 8, 9, or 10. And then every once in a while we'll get somebody who's really sarcastic and they say, well, 2, 3, you know what I'm talking about. Right? So you want to kind of see where they're at. And if they're not invested, you can kind of go through this faster because they're not putting as much into it. If it's a 10 and you can tell they're serious by their face, then you spend some more time on it. Okay, so that's how important is it for you to handle lone wolf without using. How confident are you that you can completely handle lone wolf without using meth? Scale of 1 to 10. 1 is, shit, the next time it happens, I'm fucked. I'm going to go use. 10 is, there's no way in God's green earth that is ever going to fucking happen again.
I'd say a 7 or an 8.
Okay, 7 or 8. Okay, why not a 9?
Well, Bob, I can't predict the future. You can never say never.
Mm-hmm. Yep, can't predict the future. We can do things to, we can use math and we can do things to help us predict. For example, right now it's probably better to buy Amazon stock than Sears stock. Why? Sears is a great company. They've been a great company for decades. Why not Sears? Well, you look at the math. You look at how the company's doing. They're on a decline. They've been on a decline for 20, 30, 40 years. Amazon's going the other way. So by math, we can't predict the future, absolutely. But we got a really damn good idea. I can't predict with certainty that the Red Sox are going to win the World Series, but they got a way fucking better chance than the Orioles do, being 51 games behind right now. Right? So, yeah, I can't predict if the Orioles or the Red Sox are going to be in the World Series. But let me tell you what, I'm watching the Red Sox, not the Orioles. 2018. So, and that's the kind of stuff that I do with, the guy we're talking about. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. That guy. Yeah, you can't predict the future. You repeat that, you agree with him. I agree with you, you can't predict the future. Oh, and then there's certain things to do, like, I know if I work hard, then I'll be able to pay my mortgage and I'll own my house when I'm ready to retire. Can't predict the future, absolutely. But there's a pretty good chance that if I just keep working and paying my bills, that I'll own this house and pay the insurance and everything will be fine. Really better chance. So, given that you're a 7 or 8 confident, why not a larger number 9? Because you can't predict the future. Any other thoughts about that then? Besides the fact that you can't predict the future, because that's kind of logically weak, If I
I would say that
But you got
once I have more time under my belt, I think that'll build more confidence. I've only got like a year of sobriety now, so.
So have more time, I'll have more confidence. Absolutely. Somebody says that, I'm going to share my story. I had no self-confidence in my recovery until I was 4 or 5 years clean and sober. The first 3 solid into the 4th year of sobriety, I depended on other people that I was around. I depended on my sponsor. I depended on the meetings that I went to. I depended on reading the big book, reading the Bible, prayer, meditation, and God. I had no confidence. Even in my 3rd year, I'm like, look at me in my 3rd year. What the fuck is going on? I can't believe it. What the hell? I must be doing something right. I don't want to think about it too much. Just need to go to my meetings. Need to call up Harry Jim, see what he's doing tonight, see if he's going to buy me some burgers tonight, or a cheesesteak. You know. Right? So that's good. Okay, once you have more time, you'll have more confidence. Okay. So let's talk about Lone Wolf in the present and whatever's coming up. Looking at whatever you can learn from the past, but we're talking about the present Lone Wolf situation. We're at number 12 now. How did this high-risk situation begin? How does it begin, and maybe even think about in the last couple of years. You've been clean for how long now?
About a year.
No. You've actually been clean for
12 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
Okay. In the last couple of years, have there been times when you're like, fuck, this is a horrible fucking day. I'm thinking it crosses your mind. Okay?
Yeah.
Were you alone? Was it a stressful day?
I was alone.
Okay.
Overloaded with work.
Uh-huh.
Disputes at home.
Uh-huh. Overloaded with work. Yep. Disputes at home.
Lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep. Uh-huh. And those 3 things together start producing thoughts in your mind like, whew, I could use some meth right now. For me, those exact same things. Overloaded at work, disputes or maybe I'm bored at home, lack of sleep there were some days that I said, shit, this is enough. I have to stop. And I can either go look at my client list and see what pothead probably relapsed that I could go buy some pot from, or that's stupid. I need to cancel the rest of my day, call up Sherry, order a big fucking pizza, get way too much food, get some sleep, have some sex, do whatever I need to do to get out of this mode. All right? So that's how it began. Overloaded with work, disputes at home, lack of sleep. I'm going to put those on the board, since this is going to be very meaningful, actually. Overloaded with work, and we're going to do it this way. Overloaded with work, disputes at home, domestic disputes. And lack of sleep. Because these three weighty things are what we're going to talk about. Because the overloaded at work didn't happen all in one day. Right? The lack of sleep may have happened in a day or two, but probably was a long pattern. Right? The domestic disputes probably didn't just, there probably wasn't just wonderful domestic bliss, and then one day, oh shit, life sucks, right? So, before that day that you remember being overloaded, oh, and by the way, you're alone, you're feeling alone, you're overloaded with work, you got these domestic disputes, lack of sleep. What happened before that day, before that moment that you realized, shit, I'm thinking about meth? What happened just before?
A lot of phone calls.
Lots of phone
just desperate, needing help, really not much I can do.
Oh, and that's a tough one. Not much I can do. I know how to help this person who's got this horrible addiction problem. I just don't have, there's just not enough hours in the day. I know what I can do to save this person, but they're drowning. And it's almost like we're watching somebody on a YouTube video live, and they are drowning. And I know how to save them, but there's nothing I can do. And it's kind of horrifying? What's the word?
Helpless.
Helpless. Yep. Feeling helpless. Okay. Domestic disputes. What happened before that day that it was this big addition of stuff?
Oh, just parenting disagreements.
Mm-hmm. Disagreements of raising the kid.
Duties at home, who's doing what, who's not doing what.
You said duty. Duties at home. Yep, who's doing what. Disagreements. Okay. That don't seem to be getting resolved. Sometimes I'll throw in my own words and see if it makes sense. And if the client does this, then they agree. If they do this, that's probably not the right words. I'll immediately retract it and throw it out. That's just my thought. I don't know. Maybe that might not be you. Disagreements that aren't getting resolved. Okay. Lack of sleep.
This is usually just like a one event kind of thing. Usually I sleep really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that one time that I don't, that's bad.
Okay. One time I don't, that's bad. Okay. And so in general, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but in general, if you get some sleep and you can get some, you had that one day where you hadn't had enough sleep, will you be able to sleep well that night?
Usually,
Yeah. Okay. You'll be able to catch up on the sleep soon enough. And then when that element's taken care of and removed, is it a little bit easier to do these things?
Usually,
To do work?
Because then I got energy, motivation, work, fine. I'm totally accustomed to building.
Okay.
I'm used to that. I
Okay.
like that.
All right.
And the domestic stuff, like, I'm learning on the fly.
All right. So here's how we psychologically dig. There's three steps in number 12. How did this high-risk situation begin? Overloaded with work, disputes at home, lack of sleep. What happened just before that? Lots of phone calls, clients are desperate, needing help, not much I can do, I'm helpless, there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, there's parental disagreements, there's disagreements about duties at home that aren't getting resolved, there's a lack of sleep. Usually I sleep pretty well. That one time I was feeling bad. What happened before that? What happened before lots of phone calls? Before clients desperately in need? What happened just before that? Because just before that was probably less stress, less intensity, right?
Yeah, it was totally chill. Like, I'd have 3-4 hours just to hang out at the office, play on Facebook, do whatever I wanted to do. Go eat a buffet, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what was the first sign that you were starting to get, like, a few more phone calls? And phone calls come all at once? Or is it like, I get 3 every day, and I got 5 this day, and I got 7 the next day, and I got 15 the next day? So what happened just before the day with lots of phone calls? And
maybe I had like an evaluation or a couple of them, and time-consuming projects, and trying to get one thing done. Phone calls, they need something done, they need something sent off. One thing after another. Before I know it, I got 5 projects going on at once.
mm-hmm. Before I know it, I have 5 projects all at once. Now, the interesting thing is, you knew you had 5 projects all at once, but then suddenly it became very real to you that you had 5 projects all at once. It's kind of like you get fired from your job on the 15th of the month, and you know the mortgage is due on the 1st, and you know on the 15th that I'm not going to have money to pay the mortgage on the 1st. But on the 15th, it feels kind of like this. On the 20th, it feels like this. On the 25th, it feels like this. On the 1st, it feels like this. So here, you all of a sudden realize you had 5 projects going on once. Even though a couple of days before, I'm going to be having 5 projects going on all at once. But I can handle it. And just before that, it's like, there's people that need some stuff. The time in my week where I got 2, 3, 4 evaluations in a row, time-consuming projects that I'm going to have to work on. The sign of what happened before was I had a batch of these big projects. Right? Let's do the same thing for domestic disputes. On that particular day, we had a whole bunch of disagreements. What happened just before the whole bunch of disagreements? Just before.
Unresolved type things that got swept under the rug.
Stuff ignored, swept under the rug. One thing after another.
I'd say more like one thing not resolved than another. You know? So then it was like, then something else would pop up and it's like, oh yeah, this is going on, but oh yeah, remember you fucking didn't do this or whatever, you know, from a couple days prior.
Okay. Yeah. So, from your mate, it's the reminder of shit you didn't do, and that doesn't help resolve things.
Or even vice versa. I'm pretty good at reminding her what she doesn't do as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so here we are, and so me and spouse reminding each other of promises not kept.
Obligations not fulfilled.
Obligations not fulfilled. By the way, that's not fair fighting. Doesn't help resolve stuff when you bring it up, right?
Right.
I'll throw a little therapy in every now and then if I'm hearing this. Okay, so just before the whole bunch of disagreements, there was a little bit of peace, but there was some stuff that was ignored. And maybe even at that time we'd had this, yeah, but you didn't do that, yeah, but you didn't do that kind of thing. What happened before that? Just before the argument about you didn't do this and you didn't do that. What happened just before that? I'll help you out. Just before that, we thought we'd resolve some stuff by agreeing to do some things that were highly unlikely to happen.
No,
we both agreed to things that didn't happen.
Right. No.
Now we're in this day looking back. It looks like those agreements that we made that settled things for a while, and I'm going to do this and you're going to do that, it looks like those should have been things that we should have been able to do.
Yeah.
But guess what? They didn't happen. And they didn't happen because of a million reasons that I'm going to suggest that possibly at that point in time, we made some decisions to make some peace about things that could have happened that maybe were not likely to actually happen. Maybe you had some unrealistic expectations of yourself and your spouse. Am I right?
You're dead on, Bob.
So maybe there were some unrealistic expectations of myself and my spouse. Yeah, because it seems like it should be really simple to just clean the dishes and get them in the dishwasher and start the fucking thing.
Right?
Why is that so hard?
Right?
Let me tell you why that's so hard. Because you're a human being, and you're fucking tired, and you're hungry, and the pizza you ordered last night wasn't that satisfying. Because you're human. Go ahead.
Except isn't that your complaint about her? Is that
Right.
your complaint?
Right. Yeah.
See, that was not she's complaining to him. He's complaining about her.
Mm-hmm.
So, but your explanation was
And-
get him off of it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm saying that these are all factors in this thing. These are all factors that are working, that are the signs, that are the little warning signs before the high-risk situation. So whatever it was that she accused you of not doing, that you didn't do, those were expectations you had of yourself.
Right.
That I should be able to do this. Was there something that you thought, oh, I should be able to do that, and then you actually genuinely didn't get it done?
Yeah, her thing, spend more time at home.
Yeah,
My thing, I come home and things are done.
yeah,
I pay the fucking bills,
yeah,
get it done.
yeah. And for you, that makes sense, and that's satisfying.
Right.
She'd actually rather you not pay some bills and spend more time at home. Just a disagreement. Ah, but that's what she wants. That's what she believes. So it's unrealistic expectations. And what's important here is those are the early signs. So usually at this point in time, I do the and then 13 is how did this high risk situation end before 10, 12 years ago it ended in using. Okay, so 10, 12 years ago ended in using meth. In the last, what is it, 10 years? 12 years, yeah. In the last 12 years, how did that high risk situation end in the last 12 years that you've stayed clean and sober?
There was a couple times I had some beers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Other times that I just picked my son up and we just went out and did something, just totally distract myself.
Mm-hmm.
I call this guy Bob. I set up a meeting with him for 2 hours.
Yep.
I call my brothers.
Uh-huh. You called your old pastor sometimes. What was his name?
Pastor Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that Pastor Bruce?
Pastor Bruce.
Wasn't it the guy that used to hang out with and he would call you and say, let's do coffee sometime?
Oh, no, not Pastor. Pastor Jeff Baker.
Pastor Jeff Baker?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you're doing this thing, we all know something about the personal lives of the person we did this with. If you think there's something else, just throw it out there. If it sticks, great. If it doesn't, just let it go. So, all right. So there have been times that you handled it well. There were times 12, 13, 14 years ago you used. But since then, you've figured out some other way to do it. You know? And hey, pizza is my pot now. If I have a bad day, I'm not going to smoke any pot, but I'm going to eat way too much pizza like I need it. It's not good, but it's better than using. Okay. And then the other part of 13 is what happened in between the beginning and the end. That's if we don't already have enough information about the series of signs that have happened. And now I want to remind you of the whole idea here of 9 through 14. It's all about signs. So what I usually do is this. Okay, if you're driving down a country road and you see a sign that says bridge out 20 miles, what do?
For it.
You floor it.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time. Yeah, you're going to figure out there's going to be detour signs. It'll be fine.
You can jump it.
No, 20 miles. Sign says bridge out 20 miles.
Right. More speed.
We'll cut this part out. Okay, so let's say, non-sarcastically, let's say that we're going down a highway, a country road. You see a sign that says bridge out 20 miles. What do?
MapQuest.
Where the fuck am I going?
MapQuest. Huh? Where is this bridge that's going to be up here that's going to be out?
Right.
Right? How am I going to get around it?
Mm-hmm.
Am I in Montana where I got to go 60 miles out of my way, or is this just a little bridge in the middle of Millard and I'm going to go 4 blocks out of my way?
Right.
Right. Situation B, you're going down the road. You see a sign that says bridge out 5 miles. Okay, now I'm a little bit more intensely thinking about I do need to bring up MapQuest. I don't need to just fly by the seat of my pants and see what happens. I need to pay attention. Sign says bridge out 500 feet. You're going 60 miles an hour. What do?
Slow down.
Stop on the brakes. You know, 500 feet's not very far. If you're going 60 miles an hour, you're probably already screwed. Bridge out. No distance. There's just the yellow and orange lines, and you're going 60. What do? Because it's too late. You're fucked. Right? That's what this is all about. It's the signs. It's the signs that I am on the road to plunging my car off a cliff. Okay? So, do we have somebody coming in? Oh, Brian's here. Come in, Brian. We're recording. We're approaching the slippery slope. So here's the concept. These are the signs that say bridge out 50 feet, bridge out 1 mile, bridge out 5 miles. And I'd like to illustrate it like this. Okay? This is the slippery slope. This is our slippery slope. And we've already talked about all
You
these
need to
signs.
use a different color.
Do I? Can't see that at all?
Yeah, it's not dark enough.
Slippery slope. And the idea is we're looking for those signs that say bridge out. Okay? Now, the first example I always get is DUIs. So let's say the person's had 2 DUIs. DUI number 1 was a sign. It was a sign that something's going a little bit wrong, drinking a little too much. DUI number 2 is also a sign, but it's a sign that you're farther down the road to the end, to driving your car off the cliff. Oh, by the way, the bottom here is I always put, if you're dead, that's a bad sign. That's a sign that we can't do anything else for you. If you're in prison for life, without the possibility of parole, won't pop, that's a bad sign. You've done something majorly wrong in your life and now you've lost all your freedoms. Or if you're in a psych unit for life, that's a really bad sign. I usually ask the client, which of those is worse, by the way? Death, psych unit for life, or prison for life? Yeah. Okay. Because this tells me something about the person. I usually ask them. So, if you hit one of those, that's a bad sign. Okay? Now, let's say the client's only had 2 DUIs. They've seen this sign, right? They've seen both these signs that something was wrong. And then I put up here, if you get DUI number 3, that's a bad sign, and you're farther down the road. By the way, your DUI number 4, and number 5, and number 6, and number 7, and number 8, they're all out here waiting for you. If you wake up one day and say, oh shit, I've had 6 DUIs, that's a sign. This one says, bridge out 100 feet. This one's bridge out a mile. This one's bridge out. Oh shit, I'm doing the other one. God dang it. Alright. So DUI number 1 is bridge out 10 miles. Do something different. You can't keep doing the same thing. This one's bridge out 5 miles, bridge out 1 mile, bridge out 500 feet, bridge out 100 feet, bridge out 10 feet, bridge out 5 feet, bridge out, right? The farther down the road you are, the shorter time and distance you have to change your behavior, right? So, and then I'll point out how far they went. They didn't get a DUI number 3, but it's out there waiting for them. If they wake up one day and they've had 3 DUIs, that's a sign that you're farther down the slippery slope to really screwing something up. Okay. And then we want to talk about, now those are the extreme things, or you may talk about how many times they've been arrested for possession of meth or coke or whatever it is, or have they been arrested for something more serious, possession with intent to deliver, did they get drunk or high and assault somebody, did they get drunk or high and rape somebody, murder somebody, arson, start something on fire, have they had a more serious charge. You want to put the numbers up there. And if it's for somebody who's younger, you want to add the minor possessions and the drug and disorderlies and the public intoxications and those things. So those are signs, and the more you have, the farther down you are. All right. But now we want to start looking at, since we're clean and sober now. You had how many arrests did you have, by the way? And was it a POX or a PWID? Possession of controlled substance, possession with intent to deliver. What was that big one? Yeah. That was the second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
First one was just possession.
Alright. So there's a sign. You had a possession of controlled substance meth charge. That was a sign. If you just stopped at that sign and turned around, you wouldn't have gotten to this one.
Right.
Just so happens that PWID number 1, you stopped and turned around. But there is a PWID number 3, number 2, out there. There's a PWID number 2. There's a number 3. There's a number 4. I'm not sure if you get many more after that, because you're in prison for life about that point. Right? Okay. So you're a long ways from a possession of meth, because you haven't had it on you in 12 years. Right? So most of what we focus on is this flat territory that we want to live on. A lot of times at this point I'll add the only thing that I disagree with in the big book, in the Alcoholics Anonymous book, is when they talk about hitting bottom. They talk about we've fallen down and we hit bottom. My theory is there's no bottom. There is an endless abyss. Like in Lord of the Rings, and we got the Balrog, the Grease Fire, and who's the magician guy? Gandalf. So we got Gandalf and the Balrog. You shall not pass, right? Well, the Balrog fell and then grabbed Gandalf and they fell down this abyss. My theory is when I was falling down an abyss that whole time, those years that I was using, bouncing off the walls, and then one day, boom, I landed on a ledge. And then I dug out of the wall a little bit to make my ledge a little bit bigger. And then I put a fence on the edge of the ledge so I wouldn't fall off again. And then I made my living space bigger by digging in to where I was so I wouldn't fall any deeper. I'm not really sure we climb out of the abyss either. I think we just make our life where we land. Because there are some things that we missed when we were using that we won't get back. So I want to live my life on this level ground. I want to put a fence here so I don't go fall off the abyss again. So I'm a baseball guy. I want to have a fence, right? So here's my playing field. I want to stay in the playing field. I want to have a fence. I want to have a warning track. Right? Warning track. And I want to figure out when I'm playing on the field and when I'm not playing on the field. So, we talked about being overworked. We talked about some domestic disputes. And we talked about lack of sleep. And I think for you, that lack of sleep is your wall. That you can be overworked a lot. You can have some domestic disputes. You can have some playing field domestic disputes. You can have some warning track domestic disputes.
Right.
A little more serious. You can be going from in the playing field, had a couple hours to hang out at the office and look at Facebook and do shit and just hang. And then, oh shit, I got 5 projects going on at once, warning track. I think it's that lack of sleep that really is the fence. When you have all those along with the lack of sleep, then you're suddenly outside the playing field. And it's time to go, uh-oh, I better get back in the playing field. That's what I'm looking for here. You guys get the idea? Does this make some sense? We're just looking for the signs. Signs are, this sign that says bridge out, it's just a sign. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not morally right, morally wrong. It's just a sign, right? And if you can recognize the sign as something dispassionate, it's not emotional, it's very logical, it's just a sign. And you notice it, then you can say, oh, I've gone too far, I need to come back here, right? I'm always looking for that wall of where the playing field is. When I first put this together and thought about it for myself, if I didn't feel like eating pizza for dinner tonight, I was either on the warning track or like right at the wall because I always feel like eating pizza. Right? If I didn't feel like having sex, I was probably on the warning track because I pretty much feel like having sex pretty much all the time. It's just the way it is, right? And if I hadn't slept well for 3 days, sleep was one for me too. I can handle a couple of nights of not having good sleep, but if I have 3 nights in a row of not good sleep, I'm in trouble and I have to take some action to get back over the fence. I had a client who was not a very severe alcoholic, not a very severe meth user. She only used meth when she was really drunk to keep the party going. She never, like any other time, used meth. There were a couple times she used it in the morning when she had some liquor. But not very severe. She figured out that she lived alone. When she fell asleep on the couch in front of the TV and woke up and didn't go to bed, it was a bad sign. If she did that 3 days in a row, she promised to call me and do another session. Okay. So we do this to look at the signs back here so that we know, even just on the other side of the fence, you were overworked, you had some disputes, you had this lack of sleep. Even though you were over the fence and a little bit of trouble, you still weren't down here. It's hard to climb back up when you're down here. It's a little bit hard when you're here. But at least you did something about it then. You took some action to get back onto the playing field. You got some sleep. You called Pastor Jeff. Yeah, you called me. You called somebody else. You took the boy out and had some fun. Right? Those actions are what get us back in the playing field. You probably also adjusted your workload and learned from it when you had 5 projects going on at a time. Probably the next time you were overworked, you only had 4 projects going on. Probably the next time you're overworked, you wrote a job description and hired somebody. Right? You figured out some way to mitigate that problem. Okay. So that's slippery slope. Get the idea? Questions about slippery slope? Thoughts? Does that make sense? It's all about analyzing the signs to figure out when we're on the playing field and when we're not. Okay? Yay!
Did that clear up a lot of stuff that you had